Hey gang, this is Scott and welcome to the Llama Lounge podcast. In this episode, we hang out with the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu black belts, Mike Rethmeyer and Dominic Brisibin. We discuss leadership, loyalty, and lots of life lessons. Slap, bump, let's roll.
Life, learning, leadership, the Llama Lounge.
Welcome to the Llama Lounge podcast, a dialogue on all things life, learning, and leadership. I'm one of your hosts, Scott, and with me today is my partner, Joe. Joe, how's it going, sir?
Good. What's going on, brother?
Just hanging in there. Excited about this particular episode. And I'm really excited because today our guests are two guys who I've known for quite some time. I really look up to these guys, and I have a ton of respect for them. The first is Mr. Mike Rethmeyer. He's a third-degree black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and owner of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Lifestyle Academy. He has one school in Belleville, Illinois, and one in St. Louis, Missouri. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
And our other guest is also a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Dominic Brisibin. He's a professor at the Renzo Gracie Academy in Clarksville, Tennessee. And he is also an active duty United States Air Force technical sergeant. Welcome to the show, Don.
What is up, brother?
Good to see you guys. I haven't seen you guys. Man, it's been some time. It's been quite some time, probably almost 10 years maybe.
2010 actually was the last time I saw you guys. That was when I got PTS to Fort Hood.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, well, you did stop. You gave me a nice surprise not too long ago, Dom.
I did. I showed up unannounced.
Yes, I love when guys do that because sometimes I'm just like down and I see you, man, and that really made my day today. So I want to say thank you here from everybody.
Anytime, brother. Anytime I'm up in St. Louis, I got to visit.
That's right.
Sure.
Awesome.
So we'll do a little bit of a background here. So Mike, you're not from St. Louis, even though you currently live in the St. Louis area. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you're from originally, and how you found yourself to living in St. Louis, Missouri.
So basically, my old man, he was a Marine, and he did embassy security, U.S. Embassy in São Paulo in Brazil, and then that's where he met my mother. They moved back here when he was on active duty, and I was born in Camp Pendleton in San Diego. And when I was about 1 year old, we moved down there after he got out, and he started a business there. And I grew up in São Paulo in Brazil, and this is
Nice.
where I got my contact with the art that basically provides my living now.
Yeah. So how old were you when you started doing jiu-jitsu, Mike?
I was 14 years old.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're 14 years old, you live in Brazil, then eventually you move to St. Louis, and
Yes.
you sort of start progressing up the ranks in jiu-jitsu, and eventually you start deciding that you want to coach and train others, right?
Yeah, I mean, so I look like my father. I look like a German American, and in Brazil I was bullied a lot as a kid growing up, and I tried different things, and it seems like people never really accepted me, because they, my name is Michael, and Rethmeyer, so I was basically gringo growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and so eventually I had some friends that liked me, and I got exposed to martial arts. I did some judo first, and then later on I did some Muay Thai kickboxing. I did some Kyokushin karate, some Taekwondo, and then eventually I got involved with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because one of my good friends that I grew up with, he started doing it, and then one day I was doing Muay Thai, and he kind of like, oh, that's nothing, and then I went against him, and next time I'm getting guillotine choked, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna have to do this stuff, and it was humbling, and I loved it, man, from the get-go. I remember getting off school and going straight to the gym in São Paulo, and then spending all afternoon there training. My first coach, his name was Alexandre Argolo. He was a brown belt at Carlson Gracie. He was a Vale Tudo fighter too. And he was a guy I really look up to. And I remember I trained for about, 6 months, and then he took me to a tournament in Osasco outside of São Paulo. And I was at the time, I mean, I started when I was 14 in and out, and I did some Muay Thai, some Jiu Jitsu, but then I got really serious then. And then when I was about 16 years old, there was no like teen division or anything like that. I went against straight up adults. And my first tournament I won with submissions, and I submitted all my opponents. And after that day, I knew I was going to do this for a living. You know, I loved it so much, and I was accepted, and I found something I was good at, you know? So from there on, it was like, always like, there's no more self-doubt. I knew what I wanted to do, you know? And it was 1994, man. I loved it since then, you know?
That's awesome. And so we first came in contact, and Dom as well, in O'Fallon, Illinois, when you were coaching some folks out of the Katie Cavan's rec center, right? Yeah. And so I remember, I think we were at Dom's house one evening watching UFC, and like a commercial comes on TV, and we're like, jiu-jitsu in Illinois? Like, and I think I don't know, Dom or somebody went and checked it out. And then I know like a couple weeks later, I went and checked it out, and that's how we met. And it became like a career for you, right? I mean, I think you were doing it probably like a couple nights a week, right?
Yes. Yeah. I started on Tuesdays and Fridays, I believe. And then eventually I started doing Saturdays, and it went from there. You know, it was 2006. I always had a part-time job. I had a full-time job, and I decided to start coaching. And I always talked to a lot of jiu-jitsu coaches, and they always told me that if you want to start become a coach, start small and then build slowly, you know, because you need to build up a core group of guys. And that's kind of what I did from the get-go, you know. And at the time, a good friend of mine, the home brothers, Justin, he was a good friend of mine, and he ran a taekwondo program at the community center there. And he has some mats, and I was looking for a place to teach. My current coach at the time, he said that I had to go a certain amount of distance between him, which I respected that. And that's when I did the club in O'Fallon in Illinois, because there was nothing there in the southern area at the time, you know.
Okay, nice. Dom, what do you remember about that time?
It's funny because you know you mentioned so we were at Bob Young's house.
That's right. That's right.
We were at Bob, and you know those were always great because Bob Young, you know, super hospitable and invited everybody. We'd have those UFC fights, and I remember seeing the commercial with Mike is probably one of the most loving guys, but you wouldn't know it based off this commercial because he had the fierce gaze, right?
Yeah,
like he just looked like a monster.
The arms folded.
And so I went home that day, and YouTube 10 plus years ago was not what it is now. And I just Googled Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they had a video of Jacare Souza, and I'll never forget it. It had like the Last of the Mohicans soundtrack on it, and he was just tossing people, choking people. And I was like, man, I'm going to try that the next day, you know, or the next week. And so I went to the class, and this is this is December of 2007, so it was cold. I remember it was cold. And there was Brazilian Mike. There was one guy and then a girl named Ashley.
Smashley.
Ashley Smashley. Yeah, that's right. So, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm like 215, 220. You know, all I do is lift weights. And I was like, man, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to do some work. You know, like I've watched enough YouTube at this point to where I think I can do some of this. I don't know if I, you know, got to strangle or do any type of submission on anybody for like the first 6 months. I don't know. I remember I got armbarred by Ashley the first night, and instead of being like, you know, I don't like this, I was like, I love it. Like this 120-pound girl, maybe if that, just
because she fights at 115, I think, right? She fights at like super low weight. She's, you know, about 5'3". Yeah, she's tiny.
She's tough. And then, you know, Brazilian Mike, man, he was so hospitable to me. And you know, he gave me a list of things, you know, workouts that I could do. And I just loved it. You know, there was no other thing in my mind other than Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And what's crazy is my ex-wife, she would say, you know, all you do is think about Jiu-Jitsu. And if you ask my current wife, she'd say, all you think about is Jiu-Jitsu. So nothing's changed except my wife.
Yeah. However, this wife, she a blue belt now?
My wife, Danessa, is a purple belt now.
She's a purple belt.
Yeah, she's been training for 6 years, and she actually she's one of the kids instructors at Henzo Gracie Clarksville. So nice. She probably trains more than I do if you go by hours, but you know. and she doesn't treat me like a black belt either. She treats me like a husband. So,
so those. Oh, go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Oh, I just had a question. I was thinking, and I want to preface this with this guy right here knows nothing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu besides just being a fan of it, watching it. I did have a lot of plans this year when I came back to the States to take it up as a new fitness thing, a sports thing, just to try it out because I thought it would be awesome. But one thing that Mike, you brought up was that, you know, you were getting into different levels of it before you could start teaching. Do you guys think like, okay, so you can play basketball and you could be great at it, but it doesn't mean you can teach it, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it just seems like you're doing it, you're doing really well at it, and chances are you're going to be able to teach it. Is that a true statement, or is it like, are there a lot of people that are just phenomenal at BJJ, but they're not going to be effective teachers?
So here's what I have to say. There's different directions that you can take in jiu-jitsu, especially as coaching, you know. So I always tell everybody when they come and they train, especially as a lot of military folks too, especially Scott Air Force guys, as I know Scott and Dominic there, and there were guys that came from the military, and I still have people in and out. And what I tell people is when they leave, it says, most gyms will let you like pick do a free trial. So do a free trial and see how the coach does it, you know. Typically, people who are passionate about it, you can pick up right off the bat, and that's what you want. You want to make sure, even if the person has a hard time teaching, if they show that they're passionate about what they're doing, that's the person you want to stay behind no matter what. You know, regardless if the guy's credentials or his reputation that he built in the community. You know, I've been in the business, you know, like I said, since the 90s, and I've seen a lot of guys there who are not very good coaches, but they have a huge reputation with the credentials that they have. And then on the other hand, I've seen guys who don't have that reputation, have that credentials, but they're so passionate about it that I will tell you straight up to go train with that person, you know? So what I always tell people is like, just go check out the gyms and see where you feel comfortable, you know? And you always want to look up for a coach that's passionate about teaching the art, you know? And honestly, anybody can do it, man, as long as you're passionate about it, you know? That's what I tell people. Yeah, that's awesome. My advice that I have to give you. I don't know what Don thinks, but I'm pretty sure he agrees with me on this one. You know?
Oh yeah, I agree 100%. You know, some people are gifted, you know, and they can go out there and they compete at the highest levels. But if you go and you take a seminar from them, or you drop into their school, you might not get what you think you're going to get just because of you know, whatever tournaments they've won. And then, like Mike said, you know, there are people that are super passionate about it that don't have the same credentials in terms of victories, either in the cage or on the jiu-jitsu mat, but they have the ability to teach and the ability to lead. And sometimes I think that speaks louder than just the credentials themselves, you know? So I agree with Mike, go with whoever's passionate about it and whoever has the ability to teach, because you want to be able to pick that up from your instructor. You know, that's what you're going to pay for. That's what really is going to help you build. So if they don't have that, you know, I'd just be a little wary, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So Mike, you, like we said, we started off in O'Fallon, Illinois, at the rec center, the basement of the rec center, right? We didn't even have a floor. Like, we were down below pulling out mats, you know, the old gym mats. I just got good times, good memories from those. And I remember my first night, I think everybody was in a gi but me. And Mike, because, you know, I was just trying it out, and Mike asked me, he goes, so do you work out? Do you do anything? And I said, I run like marathons, half marathons. He goes, this is going to be a lot different. And I said, okay, all right. And I just remember like for the next 3 or 4 days, my arms were just bruised up, you know, from everyone grabbing and everything. And so, yeah, it was a great time. Those sweaty mats, mopping them down and cleaning them up and all that stuff. But eventually, Mike, you were able to go from sort of renting out space in the basement of a rec center to opening up one gym and then eventually 2 gyms. Tell me a little bit about that process of how you went from transitioning just from doing it sort of part-time to full-time.
That's a great question. So whenever I started in O'Fallon, I really didn't have any expectation. I don't know where I was going to go. I would just always had this part-time job, and I was happy to drive because I live in the county still, you know, and I drove, and it was a good 45-minute commute one way every time there. And I don't know where that was going to go. And then if you remember back in 07, 08, we had that the collapse of the housing market and the economy was in a similar situation as right now, and I lost my job. I had a corporate job for 10 years. I lost my job, and I remember you were there, Don was there. I remember having a meeting with you guys because I didn't know what I was going to do. I was looking for jobs. I couldn't find anything. My wife was pregnant with my second son. You know, I had Alex. She was working full time. It's very similar situation going on right now. But back then, I had experience I have now, so I was very stressed out of my mind. And I remember going up, and I had a little bit of severance money. I went to you guys. I lucked out. I found a good landlord in Belleville, and the guy was desperate to rent the place as well. And he offered me an open lease for about a year, but he wanted to make sure I can guarantee paying the rent. And remember, you guys all signed the memberships with me. And then I showed that to paper to him. Said, okay, that's good enough. Let's get going. And then I remember holding a part-time job as a bouncer, you know, and it went from there, man. And luckily, remember you and Bobby, you guys, and then even Dom, you guys helped me bring in all those airmen from the base. That program really like brought that place alive. And from there on, man, it was just hard work and dedication. And then eventually, you know, I mean, you guys left, and we had some another problems in the economy. I don't know if you guys remember at one point, you guys paid all the military all got frozen at one point. That was catastrophic because the gym was based off a lot of business from the base. Yeah. And then I had to take a different direction and catering more to locals, which now, if you guys come back there right now, I have a lot of people who live locally in the surrounding area. And I have built a great community for the students. They love it, man. They've been so supportive right now. And then this is why I ended up opening the school in South County, because I was looking to expand and not just have a fallback on. So the school is actually a fallback, but it's actually working out, you know, and now I have 2 locations, and now I'm actually ready to expand one, and eventually, hopefully Belleville too. I'm going to be able to keep working to make it grow, you know. Yeah. So it's just hard work, man. Dedication. It takes a lot of time, you know. So, and I was blessed to know great people like you guys, you know, through all this journey.
So Mike, I mean, obviously being a business owner is tough as it is, right? You know, the economy, you never know which direction it's going to go. What has your study and your practice of jiu-jitsu taught you about handling stresses like that?
Well, here's one big lesson that I always tell people, especially when they come to the club. And here's the one thing I tell, especially for you, you know, Dom, I'll still tell you this now. I'm pretty sure I told you this in the past. For you, Scott, you know, for all the guys who always come back, the big lesson that I always tell people is have no expectations. Mm-hmm. Just do your training, embrace the journey, you know, and what happens, man. I mean, because think about it. When you do jiu-jitsu, you have to put trust on people when they put a submission on you. When you're stretching your arm out, you tap, you trust in that person to let you go, you know, you know, and so it's the same thing it's happening now. So that's kind of like a basic philosophy for life, I think. So times are tough, you know. We're getting put on submission right now. So right now we just got to, you know, we got to take a step back and just hope for the best and have no expectations, you know. I mean, I feel like jiu-jitsu has really taught me how to have a pretty like significant look at everything, because, you know, I went from like not having much in my life to all of a sudden I have these 2 gyms from just hard work through it. Mm-hmm. And I believe that this is not going to take me down right now, man. This is going to, you know, make me stronger. So that's kind of like the outlook I have on everything that's happening right now, you know. And I see a lot of people freaking out and desperate, and I have students call me freaking out, desperate, and I try to calm them down. This is why you see me do a lot of live videos online, because I'm actually just trying to inspire people a little bit and have them calm down, because everything's going to be okay, you know. And jiu-jitsu taught me how to have balance, how to, you know, maintain composure under pressure, you know, because, you know, I also fought, you know, MMA, and I think part of the training when it comes to like fighting itself, it's a lot of mental fortitude, you know, a lot of composure. And if you can maintain your cool under pressure, man, and then you're going to really panic and feed into the fear, you know. So this is why, like, right now, it's time for us to be reasonable and not feed into the fear, the sentiment of fear that we have, you know. So that's what basically jiu-jitsu have taught, you know.
Yeah, I remember just thinking back to those days of like my first few times on the mat, tapping to everything, right? Yeah. I wasn't even in any hold, right? Just somebody got on top of me, and I started because I had no idea what was going on. But after I started training a little bit more, and again, I'm not anything compared to Mike and Dom, right? But you start to learn just relax, just kind of be cool, just be calm, and I think that's something that for me is that mindset I've been able to carry throughout the rest of my life over the past 10 years, that when you have a challenge, when you have some sort of adversity, just chill, right? Try to look at things objectively and not, start freaking out and tapping right away. How about you, Dom? What are your thoughts on that?
In terms of what jiu-jitsu has taught me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, so mine's a little different. With jiu-jitsu, I've always thought jiu-jitsu is like a not just a martial arts discipline, but something you need to stay disciplined in. Anytime, with deployments or TDYs, when I've been gone, I've noticed you lose your timing a little bit if you can't train. Mm-hmm. So with all those deployments and TDYs, staying disciplined in my training, trying to find ways to supplement jiu-jitsu when I can't. So discipline is always number one. And that's something that I put as like a top priority in my life. With that is just working through problems. Scott, like you said in the beginning, when somebody's on your back and you feel a little claustrophobic because you're already in a gi, right? You're in like a potato sack pajamas. Mm-hmm. And somebody's trying to choke you. Somebody's putting a bow and arrow choke on you. And in the beginning, you tap to everything. Over time, once you learn the defense, you start working through that problem. You start assessing what's actually going on and how can I fix this? Am I really in that much trouble, or is it just, a little molehill? And I think that, working through your problems is one of the biggest things just everybody that starts jiu-jitsu can learn. So everybody panics and they look at it as like a huge like a big adversity in their life. But I think if they just kind of assess the situation, they're going to make it through. And like Mike said, this is the perfect example. And I'm not saying this for everybody because everybody has their own financial situation or home situation. And I'm very blessed to be in the military where, for the most part, as long as people keep paying taxes, we're going to be all right. But I think in everything you can just look at it and see, how can I calmly solve this problem? What can I do? There's always something you can do. And I got to thank not only jiu-jitsu, but really Brazilian Mike for introducing me to all that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think, and Dom, you talked about this a little bit with deployments and TDYs. Like you've been able to maintain, I don't know how consistent, but I know that when, one of your deployments, you're posting pictures on Facebook, you're training during deployment.
So I'm very blessed right now to be in the special operations community where people are not going to stop training just because they're deployed. So you guys have guys that, will take mats, they'll deploy with mats, they'll throw them on a pallet, pack them up, throw them on a C-17 and ship them across the ocean so that they can keep training. And that's not just with jiu-jitsu, but with Muay Thai. I was in Afghanistan last year, and some of the guys all of a sudden, putting on those shin-in steps and gloves and headgear. And I'm rolling with a few other guys, and they're over there just getting after it, just, banging. So I think the community I'm in now, they definitely don't make any excuses. And even when I was I was attached to Big Army, they had a little mat room, and it was, I don't know how sanitary it was, but I remember making it a point after I was done with my shift to go over there and train. And at that point I had just got my purple belt, so I was able to teach a little bit of fundamentals. And it's been super rewarding to be able to just really be lucky and blessed to have mats wherever I go. And not really have to bring them myself. Luckily somebody's been training jiu-jitsu and it has only increased over time. There's so many people who train jiu-jitsu now.
Right.
In 2008, or 2007, it was hard. People were like, jiu-jitsu, is that like Taekwondo? And I'm, nah, it's not like that. It's not like Taekwondo. Now you can't go somewhere without seeing a Brazilian jiu-jitsu t-shirt, like of some company, or seeing the UFC and people just being able to associate with it. So, it's just crazy how it's blown up over the past decade for me. And I can't imagine for Mike what it's like for him, since the 90s. That's crazy.
I was just talking to one of my brown belt guys, Charlie Sheet, together have a meeting about that. How, with like guys like Jocko Willink and Joe Rogan promoting jiu-jitsu, it's like huge impact, especially for like men, because they empower men a lot. And they talk about how their jiu-jitsu journey was, and people actually reach out, like men between 18 to 45 years old, reaching out to me because they're looking for fulfillment in their life. So I can see the impact, and it's cool because it gave a completely a different perspective in jiu-jitsu, even for me, you know, to look at it as how the perspective of these guys, you know, because they're big personalities. So the perspective they present has been changing my outlook on it as well. You know, it's right, John. Is this all right? Yeah. So, you know, it's pretty neat to see that. You know, it's pretty neat how more involved people are with it because it's changing. It goes from like this for me, it's like a Bushido lifestyle to more like somebody who's trying to help people as well. You know, to help them feel like in the end of the day they actually have a sense of accomplishment. You know, so it's actually a lot more gratifying. You know, as even like we teach that stuff to people. You know. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Mike, I was gonna say, so you named your club the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Lifestyle Academy, and I think that's the perfect name, right? Because there's, you know, I pass 3 different schools on my way to work every day, and they got various names. There's a Henzo Academy, by the way, right down the street from me, Dom. But
gang.
but Lifestyle Academy, I mean, because when I think about the dedication and the discipline it takes to be, you know, successful in jiu-jitsu, it's a lifestyle change. It's not like a hobby. For, you know, if you really want to be really good at it. What's your thoughts on that, Mike?
Yeah, you know, I don't know when you guys started with me, but now the way I am with people is that when they come to me, I try to be super upfront with them. And I do, like I said, I do offer them a trial. And I always tell the person that, hey, this is how I do things. And it doesn't matter if you train with me or somebody else. This is something you have to show commitment and dedication, you know, and you have to have discipline. It's not that instant gratification, the thing you're going to get the belt, you're going to pay and get the belt overnight. So It takes time. You know, I tell people that I believe that for you to be even proficient, I think a minimum of a blue belt, a level, it should take at least a couple of years, you know. Some old school black belts will disagree with me. Some will agree with me. They might say, no. I think it all depends how the coach teaches the classes. And because when I wrap the blue belt around the person's waist, I tell them, I make sure you learn the basics and you know how to defend yourself. Those are 2 aspects that I'm looking at because I want to make sure that you have that confidence to defend yourself too, you know. But we're going to do a lot of rolling. You know, you got to have that contact, that physicality with other people. So, and you need to maintain your composure and be able to defend yourself, you know. So that's basically the way that I see it, you know, when people start training now.
Yeah, you talked about promotions a little bit, and like I look at, you know, there's like family karate gyms around here, and there's like I don't know what the ranking systems are for other disciplines, but when you see like, you know, black belt 8-year-olds, I get kind of concerned, right? Like, have they put forth the effort and discipline that they need? And one of the things I liked about jiu-jitsu was, in order for you to be successful in jiu-jitsu, you actually have to take risk. Like, it's not just about shadow boxing or kicking, you know, at a mirror. Like, in order for you to learn how to do an arm bar or a darce, you actually have to make contact with somebody else and put yourself at risk. And so I don't know if other disciplines offer that. I'm not an expert, but what I have seen though with jiu-jitsu, the ranking systems, it seems like it takes a lot more to get promoted in those systems in jiu-jitsu than it would be in another sort of discipline, so to speak.
So what's your question? I'm sorry.
No, it wasn't a question. I was just making a statement.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And he was making fun of he was making fun of kids that have black belts too. He was making fun of kids.
Yeah, poor kids, man. Poor kids. But here's what I have to say. In jiu-jitsu, it really is a self-defense system, you know, and so you can't learn how to defend yourself unless you get in an altercation with somebody and be comfortable in an environment, a combat environment, you know, fighting somebody. So I cannot speak for the martial artists and for other schools, but you know, I believe that for you to learn how to defend yourself, you have to get there and you have to get in the tussle with a person, and then you got to test yourself out to see if you can maintain your cool and apply the techniques and be okay with losing too. You know, you got to put your ego aside and just keep working hard. You know, and then as long as you're in a good place that people are respectful and they're understanding that you need to learn still. You know, and I think you're going to strive and you're going to grow. And as long as you put the hard work in, you know, and I always tell everybody, don't expect anything for the first 6 months. You know, just show up and train and whatever. If you can pick 2 days a week, this, you know, even for you, Joe, there's some advice if you started doing it. Take a couple days a week, man, and just show up no matter what, you know, and then make sure that's your routine and stick with it, you know. and then give it 6 months. But then if 6 months is not working, give it a year. If it's not working, you got to keep going, man. You got to get going, get up on that hill. And once you get there, once you start getting the hang of things, it's so fun, you know. And I'm sure the other two guys there, they can concur with me right now. You know, it's like it's really fun. And man, I've been doing it for so long. I get so many injuries, but I just enjoy it, you know, like. And even right now, with everything being down, I'm still trying to study and observe other grapplers and trying to pick up different people. There's so many different perspectives on jiu-jitsu. It's not just like I'm going to break that board and I'm going to get a rank, or I'm going to pay $500 for a black belt. That has nothing to do with anything. The rank doesn't mean anything, honestly, guys. You know, it's just a sense of accomplishment, really. You know, there's no difference. Like, you can put a white belt on my waist, it's not going to change my skill up. You know, it's all about the passion you have and what you chase, and you know. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to do it for a living. You know, not now, of course, awesome. Thing, but you know, I'm still trying to do it online. Everything, so we'll see how it goes. You know?
No, I appreciate that advice because, like, for me, coming back from overseas and then just I think maturing and get to a point in my career where I've, you know, kind of accomplished the things that I need to, and I'm still working on stuff. But what I wanted to do is just find something that I'm going to suck at and try it out. You know what I mean? Like, I just know, and everybody that I know that does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu says exactly what you guys are saying, that it's just going to be painful and tough. And, you know, at that point, but it's going to be so rewarding at the other side. And I've been trying to find challenges for myself. I mean, I've been running, Scott knows, I've been running a lot more, you know, putting up as many miles as I can. And that helps now because, you know, we can't do what I want to do right now. But as soon as I get an opportunity, I'm just definitely going to check out a school and just, you know, prepare to suck for a little while and learn some stuff. You know what I mean?
I'd say so. Dom, you've been doing this for a while, and you're in the military. Do you find any correlation between sort of like a unit cohesiveness and teamwork, and is that relatable to what you find in maybe a jiu-jitsu school?
There definitely is. You know, and it's different based on your environment, right? Like, I know a lot of people stereotype the Air Force as being very PC. And I found that to be true. Like, it's actually pretty funny when I go train with airmen. It is definitely a little lighter than it is when I train with either my Army buddies or my Marine buddies. It is completely different, but I think it's awesome, you know. And with that, for myself, regardless of what branch you're in, you're gonna find something in that gym that reminds you of work. You know, whether it's the formality, you know, especially with the military, we have a uniform. That uniform is right now the OCPs. And in jiu-jitsu, we have a uniform. For the most part, it's going to be a gi, unless you train at a no-gi school where, you know, you might have a rash guard that's similar to everybody else's. But you're going to find something. For me, I love trash talking. It's my favorite thing on earth. You know, like, I love.
Always has been.
There's nothing that makes me happier than trash talking while doing jiu-jitsu. And the guys I train with, you know, we throw it out the door. And if I go to work, it's the exact same thing. You would think they're the same people. And those two groups, for me, have nothing to do with each other. You know, the guys that I work with on my team or in my unit, they're not the same guys I train jiu-jitsu with. But we're clowning 24/7. You know, it can be, you know, 10 degrees outside and, you know, we're doing a field training exercise, or we can be in the jiu-jitsu gym where it's 100 degrees and, you know, you got somebody's like snot/sweat/blood dripping in your face. And, you know, we're just talking trash the whole time. I love it. It's really embracing the suck on both sides.
So, Mike, you kind of going back to Lifestyle Academy, and I kind of mentioned that I think it is a lifestyle, right? If you're going to be serious about it, there's also like a family aspect to it, right? I mean, if you are training with someone day in and day out, you're going to grow closer to those people, and you kind of develop bonds. Would you say?
Oh yeah, 100%, man. I mean, I just have a lot of people right now, man. I just got a gift from one of the students. They gave it to me, and I'm like, it's nice, you know. I mean, shouldn't have to do that, you know. I had somebody give me a gift card, and you know, some people there's people right now, guys, that want to sign up. I have there is a fellow gentleman that he's a purple belt from Texas. He moved here, and he did a trial with me, and I let him train for a little bit to establish himself here. And he wants to sign up. He wants to be a part of it. He's following all my stuff on social media, and he feels bonded. And I talk to the guy all the time, you know. So yes, there's people there, man, who've been like, recovered alcoholics and drug addicts, and people who are, have suicide issues, and, mental issues, and for them, this is like bringing fulfillment. So it's tough for a lot of people right now not being able to be there. But I'm trying to hold things together and talking to people. There is a huge sense of communities too for everybody who does it, and then yes, this is why the core group of people there, they're very connected to each other. It's nice. It's really nice to see that community. Everybody getting involved and being friends. And I believe some of the guys will be in up for UFC tonight. And but I'm here with you guys right now, so I
know. I tell you, oh man, I'm like, and I'm kicking myself too because I'm like, why did we schedule it this evening, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's going on in the next room over here. I got ESPN Plus on.
It's just the prelims at the moment, and
it
looks like Charles Rosa escaped a arm triangle. Sorry, I have it going on another screen. So when you talk about that community, there's also a loyalty to like the coach, I guess. If it's good coach, there's going to be that lifelong loyalty. I don't know, Dom, you got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Lifestyle Academy tattoo, right?
Sure do. Yeah, I got it. I got it. And didn't even question it. And people ask me about it all the time, and I said, that gym. I was with Brazilian Mike for I think two and a half years.
Yeah.
But that gym, that gym really saved my life. That gym was there during a divorce, so I owe a lot to that gym. If it wasn't for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I don't think I would have had the military career I had.
Yeah.
Going from Scott Air Force Base, Illinois to Fort Hood, Texas, it was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that got the group of friends that I had. Yeah. So, I don't even know where I would be without Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's, there's a scene in Point Break that I always like tell people. Is it Point Break?
I knew it was coming up at some point. A Point Break.
It's the original Point Break, right?
Yeah, the original Point Break.
All right. Yeah.
So there's a scene in Point Break where Keanu Reeves is going to get a surfboard, and there's that young kid, and he's like, your first board or whatever, and he goes, "You're gonna love it, man. Jiu-Jitsu's the source." And I think that same way about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and my relationship with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Lifestyle Academy. Like that place changed the trajectory of my life.
It was where you were born, pretty much, right?
Yeah. It was like
a rebirth.
So, I don't want to get too religious. Like I'm a Christian, and when you baptize, you're reborn. That's what I think of going to that gym. It was like not necessarily like a religious baptism, but it was definitely spiritual in some way, so I love it. I can't thank Mike enough,
Yeah. So
man,
you went from Scott and then you went to Fort Hood. And then you started training with some guys that, fought in the UFC, and you actually participated in the combatives tournament there, right?
Yeah. So, me going from Illinois to Fort Hood was truly a blessing. Initially I had an assignment to Las Vegas, and
that would have been trouble.
That would have been trouble. But like Las Vegas is the fight capital of the world.
Yeah.
So I made all these plans. I did all the research in jiu-jitsu gyms, and then they tell me, "Oh, your assignment got changed to Fort Hood, Texas." And I was like, "What?" The only thing I know about Fort Hood, Texas, is that they had just had the shooting like a few months before. If you guys remember, so I was a little worried.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, Fort Hood, Texas, at that point was home of the All Army Combatives Tournament champions. So I was very blessed to meet not only just friends that I've had for a long time, but mentors. I got to train with guys like Colton Smith, who was Tough Season 16 winner. I got to meet a huge mentor of mine, Tim Ferriss, who was the NCOSC of the gym, Chris Perkins, who was the director of the program, Phil Platt, who ended up being my striking coach and good training partner. And then in Texas, you got so many jiu-jitsu competitors. You got Brian Marvin, who's a good friend of mine. You got Tim Kennedy, who, if you don't know who Tim Kennedy is, just use that Google real quick. But
what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I went to first time I went to Austin to train with Tim Kennedy. He head kicked me so hard I lost vision out of my right eye for 10 minutes, and I was really kind of worried I was going blind because I couldn't see anything on the right side of my face. But so many people live in Texas that going to Fort Hood was one of the biggest blessings of my life, because instead of me stopping jiu-jitsu, it like amplified it, So Mike put that little seed in there, and then Fort Hood, Texas, you know, that middle state of the country is just like pouring water on it and helping it grow. And I got to meet a lot of good friends, a lot of good training partners, people who I still like go out of my way to talk to and see and trade ideas with in terms of coaching or training. So, you know, if you don't think Texas has jiu-jitsu, Texas has a lot of jiu-jitsu, a lot of MMA, a lot of training, and just great people.
So when you did the combatives tournament, were you the only airman? You were the only Air Force guy? I
was the only airman in ABUs. And I remember the first day you stand in formation, and one of these things was not like the other, you know. But at that point, you know, I was training all the time. I had fought an MMA fight in December, and the tournament was in February, and I was supposed to deploy in March. So I went from training for that fight. You know, thank the Lord I won that fight in December. Instead of, you know, eating Haagen-Dazs and Ben & Jerry's, I just kept with the diet and kept with the training. And I mean, that tournament full of great competitors, but I was just mentally ready. I never got off the horse until after. I literally went from winning that 3-day tournament to the bar to to get a little numb. You know, that was my vice. So,
did you get a lot of trash talk, like being the airman, like bunch of dudes shouting out like "beat that airman" or anything like that? Or
not really.
That's what they said. Yeah, just like
yeah, that's how they trash talk.
Yeah, it was very clean.
Actually, I have so many friends in the combatives community that nobody really did that, and I was already training in the area and competing, so everybody kind of knew me. They knew that, you know, not necessarily your stereotypical airman. I'd rather train jiu-jitsu than play
golf.
Games, I guess. yeah, play golf. Yeah, there's no golf in my blood, but I had a great team behind me, a great training partners, all of them Army. So, you know, I don't have that that rivalry. You know, I've never really felt that rivalry. We joke about it sometimes, right? Because, you know, I'm still in the Air Force. It's something to bring up when we're trash talking, but for the most part, I've never really felt like anybody showed me any animosity just because I was in the Air Force.
So Mike, you've had a lot of successful people come through your gym, folks that have like Dom, who's moved up to become black belt, guys that have fought in the UFC. Ashley's fought on a bigger level. How does that make you feel as a coach to see that commitment from like students and former students to progress through a martial arts career?
Well, I'm passionate about what I do. So, you know, if I find a person who wants to get involved, I just put my time and effort into them, you know, and then let's see where it goes. And recently I just helped this young man named Orlando Sanders. If you guys followed him, he just won the Tough Enough in Vegas at 170. Now he's with Drysdale training with him.
Nice.
And I'm really happy and excited for him. You know, he was getting ready to do another fight to defend the title, the amateur title, but he's with some serious people there, and that's what's gratifying for me, man. It's seeing people take off. Like, you guys remember Sanchez?
Yeah.
You know, and there was some bad blood there for a while. There was a little bit of issue there, but you know, I look past it, and I'm really happy for him. And, you know, I'm glad that he's at TriStar training there, and you know, successfully winning fights in the UFC. And so, you know, it's nice, man, that I know that I can help these people get where they're at. You know, so I think that speaks more for the passion that I have behind what I do, and you know, where the path takes them. You know, I just know that I help them get there. You know, to me, that's regardless if they give me any thank yous or anything like that. I look past. I used to get sore about that, but now not anymore. I know I did. They know that I did it for them. Yeah. So that's all that matters, man. It's just like, do it out of kindness and not for looking for gratitude. You know. So yeah, I mean, like I said, man, if somebody's passionate about what they do, they're gonna help people no matter what, you know. So, you know, I can't wait to see it. And then mark my words, man, Mr. Sanders is gonna be in UFC there, being a contender eventually, you know.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of his fights on YouTube, the Tough Enough series and stuff like that. So he's got some skills, man. Looking forward to seeing him coming up, and it's great. I mean, I know I was a horrible student, right? I was undisciplined, never showed up. but it's
right.
Yeah. Hey, but I still got my gi. I'll go grab my gi real quick and show it to you if you want. No, but it's one of those
clean.
things.
Never too late to get back.
Well, you know, but it's one of those things where I think for a lot of people, it's not just about learning the technique and learning the skill, it really changes who you are as a person. Like if you know, just the few experiences, the little experience I had with it, I think for me, it helps me just when I'm dealing with problems and solving problems, I'm like, is this a big deal? No, it's not a big deal. I've had Dominic Brisibin choke my eyeballs out. You know, I think I bled all over Mike's gi one time. You know, I'm like, you hit my nose, I'm bleeding all over the place. So, you know, one of my favorite experiences are rolling with Mike. Like, okay, you know, he would show us something and like, all right, and everyone's partnered up, and I'm like, I guess it's me and Mike. So here we go, right? And it's like, hey, let's go. And of course, he knew exactly what I was going to do because I was always going to try to do the technique that he just taught, which is probably not the smartest thing to do, right? Give away your plan to your opponent. But I think that just being willing to put yourself in some sort of risk, that's how you become better at like in life. But I think especially in a sport or a discipline like jiu-jitsu, because that's the only way you get successful is putting yourself in sort of, you know, dangerous or tricky situations.
Absolutely, man. I mean, no risk, no reward, you know? And you know, it's funny because now I do have a lot of brown, black belts, purple belts trained in schools. And I this is something that I tell them, and I think it's good for the listeners and for you guys to hear this, that in jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter, man. You can buy whatever fancy DVDs out there and learn whatever fancy technique and do all the seminars you want. When it comes to like, especially the high level, you know, the purple, brown, and black level, it's about the confidence, the mental edge, and know how to application of technique, you know, how to stay a step ahead of your opponent. So yeah, and that perspective, that dynamic of the game will teach you in life that, you know, you just got to get ahead of the game, and you got to, you know, take that risk, and, you know, bad things happen, get over it, get over the hump, get up and keep moving, you know? So that's something that I always pass on to the students is like, it doesn't matter. There's no certain, it's only like hard work, man, and believe in what you do, you know? So it's kind of like you just mentioned about like, oh, I'm going to try that technique that might just fall, but it's not working. Maybe not as smart. But no, I actually disagree with that. I mean that I always tell like, you know, one of my students I train with a brown belt team, he wants to get to that black belt level. And it's like, well, I try this move to you all the time, but it's not working. But I'm like, then I said, well, you need to think about a faster way to do it. Or, you know, maybe you should like try a little bit different of the angle of you trying the application of the movement, you know, but you have to get good. The good grappler is when he does something to you and you can't stop it and they're going to keep doing no matter what, you know? Yeah. And you guys know that. I remember when you train with you guys, I'll do the same things over and over and over and over, and you guys can stop it. And then that's what I always try to teach people, you know? You know, it's kind of like you can't like, okay, if this is not working, I'm going to stop and learn this fancy move on this DVD and try to apply that. Okay, if you want to do that, it's fine, but then you got to stick with that and stick with those guns and don't change and keep training hard the entire time until eventually get it. It might take years, but eventually you get there. But if you already have something, stick with that, you know? Yeah. And that's
so, Mike, so this is probably a good question for both of you guys. As you are sort of promoting people, whether it's a stripe or a belt, what are some things that you're looking at other than technique or skill? Is there anything else that you look at with that person?
Dom, you want to lead up on that one?
Yeah, so the biggest thing is I look for their overall dedication, you know, and I try to take into account their personal life. For the military and for a lot of the folks here, even some of the civilians, they're taking trips overseas, either, you know, for actual deployments of their military or for contracting work if they're civilian. So I take that into account and their overall ability to train. If they're, you know, if they're a student, a high school student, and they're just, I really don't feel like going today, I take that into account. And it's not a straight line for everybody, you know, it's kind of a curve just depending on what they have available. If life hit them hard and they ran into a financial situation, they can't train. If they came up to me, you know, they're going to get to train for free. You know, I don't really care about money. You know, that's not why I do what I do. I want people to just become more confident citizens overall. Yeah. Not just, you know, pay to train. You know, anybody, you can go anywhere and do that. You can pay to train anywhere, but I really look for the overall dedication. If I know you're trying to lie to me about why you didn't come to train, I'm going to remember that, you know, an elephant never forgets, and I'm a big elephant. So dedication is the biggest thing to me.
Nice. How about you, Mike?
I agree 100% with Dom. You know, The only thing that I do differently is like I also look at their age. Of course, I can't expect the 20-year-old. I mean, the 40-year-old to be like the 20-year-old. You know, so if the 40-year-old is showing up to class, and you know the guy has a job, he's got a family, and he's still being there twice a week. You know, if he's there for 6 months, I'll do promotions. I'm pretty good about doing one promotion in the spring, one in the fall. He's gonna get his stripe or two, man, and he's gonna get move on. I want, you know, because he showed the dedication, he's shown the work, and the system that I have applied, especially since you guys left, I did change the system for advanced and beginner. And the beginners, once they cracked that 6-month window, man, they're getting promoted, you know, because they've been there. And I know I've seen statistics before that most people quit within the first 6 months. So if they crack that 6-month mark, man, they earned their first stripe. I mean, it's just a symbol. It's a token that they show their dedication. You know, it's kind of like when people do like AA, and after they were sober for so long, and so it's the same thing. I mean, honestly, it's just like they're there. So like I said, the rank means the dedication, you know, 100%. You know, of course, you have it. You're also going to have the exceptional student who's super talented, who has that background in wrestling, who's a good athlete, and they're going to always, you know, they're going to be the one person that most students will look up to, or might be also the person that people might be intimidated by because, you know, depending on the environment of the school, you know. So I empowered everybody in the club. You guys trained me for a while, and then I respect everybody equally. I never ever put myself on the altar saying, no, I am like the king and you guys are the subjects. No, we're all equals. I'm just trying to lead you guys into becoming leaders in their life as well. You know, it's like Dom says, empowering people, you know, and make sure they're better people. I agree 100% with that, man. It's like, you know, like I said, I'm fortunate enough to do it for a living. And then this is all I try to do. I just try to be very upfront with people, make sure they understand that what I need to do is, my job is to teach them and guide them, and they need to do their part. They do their part. They show their dedication, their commitment. They're gonna get their rank. You know, of course, white to blue belt. By the time they get to a blue belt with me, I ain't pretty confident when I tie that blue belt around them that they know how to defend themselves. So if they go to the bar, go for a Wild Wings to watch UFC, and some Yahoo there try to pick a fight with them, I'm pretty confident the guy can, at least if he gets sucker punched and he goes down, he can probably put a triangle. You know? Yeah. So that's one thing I really look for, because I think the self-defense aspect is so important in the art. You know, this is how I got involved in it. You know, and then nowadays, I'll be quite honest with you guys, and I'm sorry whoever listens to this, but sometimes, you know, I see matches of two guys sitting down at the same time, and I you know, when I watch that kind of stuff, he's supposed to be like the best guys in the world. I'm not going to say names, but when I see that now, I don't know if like the same perspective I have, because I got involved in sport from watching these jiu-jitsu guys doing 16-man vale tudo, no holds barred fighting, you know, blood battles for no time, no weight limit, and then you see the jiu-jitsu guy winning, you know, like you do all these fights in one night, right? Was it 4 fights out of 16 men, you know, on the bracket style, no holds barred fighting with bare knuckles, you know, they even allow groin punching. I used to watch those live when I was 14 years old in Sao Paulo. So I used to see the jiu-jitsu guys, just, you know, typically the jiu-jitsu folks are good about pulling a guy who's more athletic, you know. I mean, the Americans have the perspective of Royce Gracie, but there were so many guys in Brazil that I watched when I got involved in the sport that's what I wanted to do. This is what I saw, that one guy there just walking across the ring. Those are ring battles, and going against a representative of Muay Thai, and just, you know, doing a double, like picking this guy up and slamming him and going to mount and just doing an avalanche of punches and putting an arm bar. I said, that's what I want to do. And that's why I got involved with the sport. So I want to make sure that everybody that trains with me, they understand that. You know, it's not about butt scooting or, you know what? I love jiu-jitsu period. I love the sport period. I think it's incredible, a lot of the stuff that comes out in the past few years and how it still still evolves as a sport itself. But I'm going to make sure that the essence is the one requisite that I want to pass on. And honestly, everything, once you get to that blue belt, the self-defense level, everything is just like a downhill, a smooth. Imagine you going up with this bike and you're going this really grueling, like mountain biking hill up or a mountain. And when you get down, it's just nice and coasty. And then you just develop your jiu-jitsu skills. If you want to be a half bar guy, if you want to be a takedown guard passing guy, just keep developing. And I keep developing there more and more and more. And then their rank is going to come naturally, you know? Yeah. So basically, that's like the one thing that I looked at how people is to make sure that I remember that those days, and I want to make sure this gets passed on. That's the legacy of jiu-jitsu. It's that ability of manhandle people who are actually skilled, trained, and claim that they know how to defend themselves. And Jiu Jitsu came in to prove that it was a superior art, to the point that I was training Taekwondo, I was training karate, I was training judo, I was training, even judo is good, okay, but if you guys look more into judo, it's different. It's more of a sport as well, like an Olympic sport. And even Muay Thai, which I did it for a long time, one of my coaches was one of the best guys in Brazil. But then I saw the Jiu-Jitsu people doing that. I'm like, you know what, man? I understand the feat of another art. I have no ego, so I want to learn, and I want to do that, and I want to make sure people know how to do that as well. So I make sure I tell that to everybody who comes train with me, who decide to train in school. I'll make sure you learn how to defend yourself first. So the beginner classes are strictly understanding concepts of fighting and self-defense, and then I keep developing that aggressiveness. A lot of people are passive, right? People are used to this, these computer desk jobs and waking up and doing this routine. People don't understand what getting outside the comfort zone is. So I want to make sure the person understands. I got to build the person up. I can't go hardcore. Remember when we used to train, I used to go, no, it's hardcore training 24/7. We're going to train hard. No, now I understand that this is going to get people to quit fast. Yeah. So, I mean, I introduce them to like shrimping, bridging out of mount, those basic concepts, that they can get out. And if somebody mounts you, don't freak out, don't panic. Just trap your arm and bridge and roll. Just a lot of things like that. And I developed that in a more aggressive way. And then once they start picking those up and I'm rolling them and they're doing everything, I'm like, okay, cool. You're ready to get your blue belt, man, honestly. So it doesn't matter if you're some young, talented guy that picks up jiu-jitsu like no tomorrow, that you can, within a month you're doing bearing rolls, taking people's back, which that's a back-taking system that they have now. It's an inverted system that they do. And it doesn't matter if you're that guy or, if you're just some 45-year-old guy that, has a guts and computer desk, but as long as you're there training and you understand how to do things, man, you're going to get your rank, and it's all there is, So it's beyond, just like being a world champion or being, have that credibility. It's like, I got to make sure you know how to defend yourself, man. That's the one criteria I look for the ranking,
I would kind of imagine too, like if someone is promoted under your system, whether it's you, Mike, or you, Dom, that they represent the system as far as understanding what's expected at that level, right? So for instance, you see some of these YouTube videos, like these guys are like, oh, I'm a black belt. Where'd you get your belt? Like, I don't know. They don't know the name of their professor. They're making stuff up, but what's it like for you guys as you promote people? Is there like especially for you, Mike, because I know you got some black belts under you. Is there like an expectation as far as how they represent your name, so to speak? Because I mean, obviously, they're a black belt under Mike Rethmeyer.
Yeah, Scott, that's an excellent question, man. I did rank a lot of people thinking that because you're successfully competing, I'll rank this guy. And then I learned through personal experience that should be the case. That should be the person that, even to a higher rank like a black belt, I believe that they should be an embodiment of a proper behavior of a black belt, So you can't be a total, jackass guy that drinks alcohol all the time and, run your mouth on social media all the time. And then later on, because you just go to the tournament, submit everybody within a minute, I am not going to rank that person, honestly, because they need to carry themselves with integrity, with respect. I think that's actually what martial arts stands for. And nowadays, I'm sure you guys follow some of the jiu-jitsu community, and then, there's some guys there who run their mouth, like no tomorrow. And I think that's kind of like taking away what I think it's supposed to stand for. There's, I understand like a fun thing, but sometimes it gets a little over the hill, So I think that I would rather give a black belt to somebody who's been just showing up 3 days a week for the past, 9-10 years, than some guy who's going in and doing flying arm bars and people and winning like world championships but still like being disrespectful and stirring up crap at school and doing just a lot of things that I can't tolerate, and I learned how to deal with that better, as a coach, because, throughout the years I had to learn how to deal with a lot of different people. And my job as a coach is also like guide those people. I do give people a lot of chances, and I try to show them the right path, to carry it on, be a reflection of what I do and how I teach people. But a lot of times, man, I just can't. And I tell people, man, I can't rank. You got to go somewhere else. and I'm trying to be super cool and upfront with people about it, you know? So you're absolutely right. I think the ranking too should be, especially when it comes to a higher rank, it should be given to people who are, you know, are having integrity, have respect, and know how to, you know, understand that the embodiment of the art is supposed to be martial arts, man. That's what it's all for, you know? What do you think, Dom?
For me, when I'm looking at promoting somebody, you know, I had a mentor of mine, Chris Perkins, who used to tell me, and I think it was Matt Larson, the creator of the Modern Army Combatives program, who told him the defining characteristic of a warrior is the willingness to engage with the enemy. So anytime I promote somebody, I try to think, you know, is this person, when they're training, are they engaging with their training partners? When they're competing, are they really engaging? And I really think it goes into what you're talking about, Mike, with, you know, are they slapping hands and then sitting down? And that's not to say that people who have that style aren't engaging, but me with a military background, and a lot of my students with a military background, I need to know that they have that end goal in sight. They have, you know, martial arts. It's an art of war. So I need to know that when I'm putting a belt around somebody, that's what they have in mind. Now, I do have students who compete. I have a guy, Josh Cortez, who goes out of his way to compete everywhere. And with that being said, he's also in the military, and he knows when it's competition, brother, do your thing. You know, whatever style you want to do on the mats, that's fine. But when we're training others, especially if they're not competitors, I want to make sure that they know that they're going to have to engage with the enemy. If you put a triangle on somebody, you're engaging. If you do a takedown, you're engaging. And I want that to be the end goal of everybody, is to, you know, be confident in the techniques they learn, in the mindset that they have adopted. And then, you know, that belt is just a symbol of that, you know, and hopefully more people kind of think that way, so that the belt isn't just about competition. Competition wins. It's about who you are as a person and kind of what you stand for.
Hey, Dom, I think, and I'm going back here a couple years, right? A few years, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and this stood out to me, I think right when you got promoted to purple belt, you posted something on Facebook about the responsibility. You're like, this isn't about accomplishment. This is about responsibility, because now you're carrying it the way forward. Because I actually stole that from you and used it when I got promoted to senior master sergeant. And I was like, man, that's a good line. I don't know where you got it from, but it was a good line. But
I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what the quote is. I know what you're talking about, but I do think that is, you know, you're, as a purple belt or as a brown belt or as a blue belt, as a white belt with one stripe, you have a responsibility to represent whatever that rank is. And it ties so well into the military. You know, as technical sergeant, you're the technical expert of whatever AFSC you have. As a senior NCO, you have the burden of leadership, you know, and you are representing whatever it is. So at any rank, you know, military or jiu-jitsu, it doesn't matter. You have a burden to represent and the responsibility to do whatever you have with that rank.
That's awesome.
that's
Yeah.
good
Hey,
stuff.
I got a question for you guys real quick. Being a new guy, right? So they're probably gonna have some listeners on here that are interested in doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu after this. And once we, you know, kind of get through this COVID thing, right? And have the opportunity to do so. But money constraints are gonna be an issue, right? A lot of people are gonna have, you know, tough times. What could be kind of expected? Because you got to get some gear and you're going to go to a gym. What can be like a reasonable expectation to have to make an initial investment on taking up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So I make it really easy for people. I just do an enrollment for them, and they come to uniform. And I get not the best uniform, not the worst, but it's basically like the uniform costs about $100, you know, and then you can now let people buy whatever gear they want extra, you know, any rash guards and that kind of stuff. And you can find some pretty inexpensive stuff, you know. And for like most places will offer first responders military discount. I do, you know. My discount runs about 20 to 25% off for everybody, so I make it super inexpensive for everybody, you know. The memberships will go like, you know, as low as $65 a month. That's basically an average you're going to be looking at. Depends where you live. I'm in California, it's a lot more expensive because of the cost of living. But like in the Midwest, I believe it's between, you know, somewhere around $70 to $100. You know, due to depending how often you want to train every week. It's pretty safe to take, guys. I'm sure Dom is probably about the same, right? Dom actually just had somebody come move to St. Louis. They're gonna bring their son as soon as this thing is over, you know, and I already worked out with them. You know, I'm actually honoring Dom's race that he's coming up in clubs So, at this point, man, it's nice to have people wanting to train, so I'm sure most places will be willing to work and negotiate even a price to train, but on the other hand, I'm also looking for people. I'm an experienced business owner. I want to make sure people value what I have to offer as well,
Right.
So if the person is just trying to try it out, then I offer a free trial, and then I talk to them and say, listen, are you ready to commit to this, And then, of course, military people come and go. You guys are stationed for a little while, and then you train, you move on, and then I work things out as best as possible to accommodate everybody. So it's very impressive what's happening right now. So I'm actually gearing up right now to learn to help people, and hopefully I can get the club back going as soon as possible. As soon as they allow me to open back up, it says I'm in 2 different states, and I believe one of the states, the state of Missouri, is going to allow me to open up my school soon. Instead of Illinois, I have no idea, So it's pretty weird how things work now. But I'm ready to rock, man, with everybody and do whatever I can to accommodate everybody. I'm sure Dom's the same.
Yeah, I think in terms of what they can expect to invest, I would say go online, use Google, right? We have technology. You can Google gi prices all the time. And there's websites like bjjhq.com where they have like one deal a day. You can get a gi for super cheap, go on Amazon. There's like some super cheap gis on there.
Don't buy anything used.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, if somebody got you into jiu-jitsu, chances are they have more than one gi that they'll either be willing to give you or be willing to lend you. Like I've probably given away 20 gis of my own at this point, in over a decade of jiu-jitsu, probably 20 gis I've given away. And most people who I've given a gi to, maybe an eighth of that actually still train. So there's just a bunch of gis out in the universe that, are just collecting dust. Nice. But just a gi, a gi and a good attitude will get you a black belt eventually, and that's it. A gi and a good attitude, awesome. You're on your way.
And shower before you go.
Oh, yeah. So get some soap, man. Get some, man. I'm a germaphobe, so I've had MRSA before, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
Since then, I'm showering 3 times a day. I'm making sure my buddies' nails are clipped. They think I'm shaking their hands and their feet out, but I'm just like, hey, do that. If I see an open cut, hey, bro, you gotta bounce. I can't have that.
Right.
We got husbands, wives, fathers, mothers, brothers and sisters that are training here, and we don't need those types of things spreading, especially with this whole COVID thing. I think every gym owner has learned a little bit about sanitation just from this.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the few things that kept me from doing it for a while, because just like what you said, the germaphobe thing, and you're thinking, oh gosh, staff and everything else, but yeah. That's pretty cool. I'm definitely looking forward to jumping right in when I have the opportunity again. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Be clean and don't eat the McDonald's big breakfast right before.
Yeah,
these are all mistakes that Scott made, right?
No. I remember, Mike. I remember there was a dude that trained there for a little bit in O'Fallon, and he showed up one day on open mats, and it was just not good. And he's like, "Oh, I had some sausage biscuits this morning from McDonald's." We're like, "What are you eating?" It was not good. You got to be a good teammate in that sense, right? So
yeah, for sure.
Well, hey guys, man, you know what? This has been great. I know you guys are busy with your lives. I know it's Mother's Day weekend. You guys are dads. You got probably some moms peeking their head in the room, going, "Are you done? Are you done?" So I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and it's been great catching up with you guys.
Absolutely.
And what we'll do is
Joe, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honor.
This is awesome. It's nice to see you guys.
Yeah, too.
Yeah,
and so we'll put in the show notes. Yeah, we'll put in the show notes how to contact the schools you guys are at. So get the word out. I mean, two really phenomenal guys that, like I said at the show opener, that I've been looking up to for the longest time. Great family men, great leaders, and great teammates. So I appreciate everything you guys do, and best of luck to you guys in the future.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both as well.
Yeah, appreciate it a lot, guys.
Peace out, guys. Love you guys.
All right.
Love you guys.
All right. Llama's out.
Llamas are out. Deuces. Thanks for listening to the show. We'd love for you to connect with us at www.llama-leadership.com and on Facebook at facebook.com/Llama Leadership, and also on Instagram at Llama Leaders. And a big thanks to Mike Whitmer for the music. To check out more of his stuff, go to soundcloud.com/Mike-Whitmer. Thanks again. See you on the next episode.